begin here this evening with the breaking news, the horror on an American campus. Conservative activist husband and father Charlie Kirk shot and killed during a campus event at Utah Valley University. Just moments ago, Utah Governor Spencer Cox calling this a political assassination, saying authorities do have a person of interest now in custody. Kirk speaking before a crowd of hundreds when the fatal shot was fired. He was known for welcoming heated debates and was seated and taking questions when he was shot. The scene erupting in instant chaos, panicked students running in every direction, and the chilling images right here tonight showing Kirk being carried to an SUV, rushed to the hospital. Before the event, he was throwing hats into the crowd there. Kirk, known for reaching out to young conservative voters, helping President Trump return to the White House. The president has applauded him for that. Tonight, the president announcing Kirk's death, posting the great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. The FBI and ATF remain on the scene right now, and ABC's chief national correspondent Matt Gutman leads us off with late reporting.
Tonight, horror on a college campus in Orem, Utah. Charlie Kirk, one of the most prominent conservative activists in the country, with close ties to President Trump, shot and killed as he addressed a crowd of hundreds. The event billed as the American Comeback Tour, a lively discussion of freedom and America. Kirk revving them up.
That's a lot of people, Utah, I'll tell you what.
Kirk then sitting on a stool, talking to the crowd, and just as he was answering a question about mass shootings in America, a single shot rang out.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
Kirk struck in the neck, the crowd running in terror. Witness Sarah Truell attending the event in between her classes.
Just one shot straight into Charlie Kirk, and that was it.
I was 15 feet away, and it was really hard to witness. As the guy said shooting or shooters or something like that, you just hear the gunshot and I'm sorry, you just see his neck just like open up, and there's just like so much blood that just came out. It was horrible.
Kirk rushed by a group of men to a waiting SUV.
Hey, stop!
President Trump quickly posting his concern. We must all pray for Charlie Kirk, who has been shot. A great guy from top to bottom. God bless him. And from Vice President J.D. Vance, say a prayer for Charlie Kirk, a genuinely good guy and a young father. And tonight, a powerful message from Utah's governor.
Our nation is broken. We've had political assassinations recently in Minnesota. We had an attempted assassination on the governor of Pennsylvania. And we had an attempted assassination on a presidential candidate and former president of the United States, and now current president of the United States. We just need every single person in this country to think about where we are and where we want to be. To ask ourselves, is this it?
Kirk, just 31 years old with a wife and 2 young children, a force in the president's MAGA movement.
He's done an amazing job. He's done something that is just incredible for somebody really of his age. You need tremendous talent to do what he's done.
Mobilizing young conservatives across the country with rallies on college campuses, he hosted one of the nation's most popular podcasts and was given a key speaking slot at last year's Republican National Convention, where he talked about going to colleges and engaging in debate.
I'm Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. I talk to a lot of young people on campuses, at our events, on my radio show, podcast, and social media. Said differently, I visit college campuses so you don't have to.
A controversial figure, Kirk said he was no stranger to death threats.
We get death threats all the time. You know, they come, they send stuff to our homes and all that. And yeah, that's just par for the course. I mean, if you are not getting active death threats, you're not really doing much for the country.
And tonight, the president announcing that Kirk did not survive.
Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. This is a dark moment for America.
And David, law enforcement has shut down that campus. They've evacuated the buildings. Eyewitnesses telling me that they've been seeing law enforcement go classroom to classroom. Now, we understand that Charlie Kirk did travel with security, but law enforcement tells us they had no credible or specific threats against him before this event. David.
Matt Gutman leading us off here on a very difficult night. Matt, thank you. So let's get right to our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. I know it's very early in this investigation, Pierre, but we did hear from authorities about what was picked up on that very grainy surveillance.
That's right, David. Police did not give any specifics other than to say that there's surveillance footage of a person wearing all black that they are studying. They believe that the shot that killed Kirk was fired from a higher location than the venue where Kirk was speaking. There was some confusion earlier today because an elderly man was taken into custody in the moments after the attack. We are told it was determined that he is not the shooter and has been cleared. Authorities are canvassing for more surveillance footage, talking to witnesses about what they saw, asking for any video they may have recorded, and they're also looking for a single shell casing that could be tied to the shooting or anything else the shooter may have left behind. This is very much an active and ongoing investigation, David.
And one more question before I let you go, Pierre, because we saw the images of the crowd racing from the scene with panic in their faces, and that is completely understandable given what they witnessed just a few feet from where they were. We heard from authorities there who confirmed that this shot was actually taken, and we've certainly seen this before. It's believed, at least at this point, from another structure right there on campus not far away.
David, we often see in these situations where the shot is fired from a higher perch location. This is exactly the scenario we saw in the attempted assassination against President Trump when he was running for office last year. This is an ongoing situation, and I spoke to an official today who said, look, open venues outside, they're going to have to reassess how these things are secured.
Open venues, and there were many witnesses who said there were no questions asked when you arrived actually at this event. Very little screening, if any screening at all. So a lot of questions moving forward. Pierre Thomas, our Chief Justice correspondent. Pierre, thanks so much. President Trump, meanwhile, late today talking with our Jonathan Karl about the death of Charlie Kirk. So I want to bring in John tonight. John, you were telling me earlier that this phone call was relatively brief, but you could hear it in the president's voice. What did he tell you about Charlie Kirk?
David, first, I have to say he sounded genuinely shaken. I spoke to him before we actually learned definitively that Charlie Kirk had died. He clearly already knew the news, probably had just recently learned it. And here's what he said to me when I said to him, this is just horrific. He said, it is horrific. It's one of the most horrible things I've ever seen. He was a great guy, the president said. He was an incredible guy. Nobody liked him. And then he actually said to me, he liked you. I don't know why, but he liked you. And I have to say one thing about Charlie Kirk is he was as critical of the news media as anybody in the MAGA movement, but he was always willing to engage. And in the conversations that I had with him, the most recent one just a few weeks ago, he was always pleasant and seemed eager to engage, eager to have a conversation, just like you have seen him on these campus events that he has. He goes and he takes questions from people who find his views to be controversial, to be offensive. He listens to the critique. He tells his supporters to be respectful, and he engages in a debate. It's something, frankly, that is all too rare in the country today, and it was something that Charlie Kirk, particularly in recent months, had been doing more and more.
And a quick follow-up to you, John, because when you look at those images of the crowd running for cover, running to safety, it's because they were standing within just a few feet of Charlie Kirk, and he was, in fact, engaging in the debate, the same kind of debate that you speak of. This is what he traveled the country trying to do on campuses. He was trying to recruit young people into the conservative movement, but he was open to all opinions, and he was engaging in this moment that he was shot today on a question about mass shootings in America, willing to take on the issues, and then they watched to unbelievable horror what played out right in front of them.
I mean, just horrific. David, he wanted to engage with people who disagreed with him. It was part of the show, part of what he was doing. And it wasn't just on college campuses. You know, when Gavin Newsom started his new podcast, his very first guest was Charlie Kirk. And Charlie Kirk went in on there to engage with a prominent Democratic leader.
John Carl in Washington after his phone call with President Trump. John, we appreciate it. The president tonight asking that flags be flown at half-staff, and there are calls from Republicans and Democrats tonight to take down the temperature in this country to stop the political violence. Mary Bruce is live with us from the White House. And Mary, I know the Secret Service is also out with a statement this evening reiterating that they have the highest level of security in place for the president.
They are, David. The Secret Service tonight reassuring the American public that they adjust their posture as needed to respond to evolving threats, but that President Trump does have the highest level of protection. Tonight, David, this White House is in mourning. They were incredibly close, Charlie Kirk, with this administration. We have seen flags lowered here at the White House and around the country, and on Capitol Hill, a moment of silence. And from both sides of the aisle tonight, those strong condemnations of political violence, those calls to dial down the national temperature. Kamala Harris, who faced off with Trump in a race where Kirk played a critical role, saying, "Let me be clear, political violence has no place in America," adding, "We all must work together to ensure this does not lead to more violence." David.
And Mary, with just a few moments left, I know Charlie Kirk was not an official advisor working at the White House, but he was well known within the halls of the West Wing there. They all knew him and they were in touch with him very frequently, including the president.
David, they were incredibly close, not just politically, but personally. Charlie Kirk was a force in this administration. As the leader of this movement, he really had his finger on the pulse of young conservatives in this country. But he also played a pivotal role behind the scenes here, advising the president. President Trump trusts him. He was a loyal companion and advisor, even advising him on political appointees during the transition. This is a huge loss politically and personally for the president, his family, and this entire administration, David.